Welcome to For the Record. I'm your host, Shane Tutmarc. Today we have Derek Hoke, and we're going to be talking about the Ramones' debut album. Before we get into that, though, I just want to remind you, hit the subscribe button below to find out about more videos, and check out the links, too. We'll have links to Derek's music, and let us know in the comments what you think. So, Derek, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you kind of surprised me, I guess, a little bit choosing the Ramones' debut album.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of people ask me what they think. I listen to George Jones all day, or
Right.
whatever it is, and I'll bring up Fugazi or the Ramones or something.
Well, let's take us back to how did you find this record? How old were you? Where were you at in your life?
I was in high school, and I was like the last person on earth to have a CD player, I think. So I had cassettes,
Okay.
and most of these cassettes were dubs of other people's cassettes.
Somebody gave you a copy.
Right.
Okay.
So there's no cover, there's nothing, it just says Ramones on it. So I have no idea which album this is, but it ended up side one was the first album, side two is the second album.
Okay.
And these records are like half an hour long at the most, you know.
Right.
It might have been both on one side, I can't remember. But all I knew is of all the cassettes I would get, that would pretty much my favorite one of.
And were you playing guitar at this point, or were you?
I was learning how to play guitar. I don't think I could play guitar and sing at the same time. Yeah, that was another.
What are you, like
exercise.
14, 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got my first electric guitar, which was like a Stratocaster copy. And I could kind of play by ear, and I had a little keyboard that I could kind of pick out songs or melodies with. And then I started applying that to the guitar, really just single string, like Rock Lobster or something. I could kind of mimic it, and but I have no idea what chords that were being played or how to even play them. But that Ramones stuff kind of got me into the power chords,
Right.
And I could kind of play along with these tapes now. And that one was the most fun to
Because
play
of the
along with.
simplicity of their music, it was just easy to
Yeah,
jump
there's
right
no
into.
big G chord. I wouldn't even know how to do that, but I could play those first two notes of that.
Yeah.
I could kind of do what they were doing, I thought I was doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if my guitar was in tune with theirs, but I'd just move my hand around and kind of copy the music, and then would copy the intensity of it and get distortion.
So were
and
you
stuff
putting
like
bands
that.
together at this point, or were you just like in your room learning
This
Ramones
was
songs?
in my room learning Ramones songs, and
Yeah.
and then started a punk band later, and writing little anti-government songs, which you do, and but yeah, the Ramones stuff was definitely was like guitar school as well as like learning
Right.
about melody and songwriting and stuff like
Did
that.
they kind of introduce you to the idea of having a band, or were you already listening to other stuff at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to other stuff, and but punk rock music was a big part of all of that stuff, especially when I was playing guitar. I wanted to play loud and with distortion on, or whether that was I can't remember if I had a pedal back then, or I just turned an amp up that probably had a button on it that made it sound like shit,
Yeah.
But I liked that. And then, you find a buddy that has a drum kit. You're halfway there, and somebody wants to sing, like, I don't know, just kind of came together later.
And did the Ramones remain sort of like a staple band for you during those formative years?
Well, the punk rock band, there was a big, I guess you'd call it more hardcore music, like New York hardcore, and some other groups that it was a lot faster, where like the Ramones were almost like, that was like dinosaur punk to what was really happening
and
at
so
that
much
time.
more poppy than hardcore.
Yeah, this was like
80s.
yelling and really fast playing, and I liked all that stuff too, but I was like, where's the melody and where's the song? And everything's kind of going by so quickly
Right.
But it was definitely a blast to play and listen to. But I kind of would always go back to, I just want to kind of do something a little more like a song, a structured thing.
Right. So maybe in a certain way, they kind of, their songwriting shone through like that period of getting into punk and hardcore more than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely, to me, more memorable music.
Yeah.
Where this stuff
Catchy.
was, it was of its time, it was fun to do and all that, but it didn't really leave a lasting impression on me musically.
Well, I guess that's something I'm always curious talking with people about is, because I feel like for me, it's hard sometimes to, as I got into making records and writing my own songs, sometimes it's hard for me to sort of, how do you put the Ramones up next to, say, something like, John Prine, or a songwriter that you might admire now at a different stage in your life? Like,
I would look at it, it's basically the same, to me it's the same idea, the same formula, which is simplicity. And I think people like the Ramones and bands even like the Misfits, like almost like accidentally wrote kind of timeless music that still resonates all these years later.
Like they weren't aiming at the American songbook,
but
yet they might have
were
accidentally
pulling from that. Like the Ramones were pulling from the Phil Spector world of pop music. And people like Glenn Danzig were kind of channeling Elvis and other things, but they were the catchiest songs, though.
Yeah,
and that's the part that I really enjoyed. And so whenever I tried to like get into songwriting, I wanted to try to write something memorable. Maybe even if it was just the melody, like you could kind of hum along to it. Like I'd just write gibberish words, which I still kind of do, but that's where like John Prine just uses a simplistic formula, but can create this great tapestry of lyrics on top of it, where Joey Ramone or whoever is just kind of singing about their girlfriend in a very basic way, and kind of getting right to the point of it,
Yeah. So I guess something I'm interested about is since you've become a studio artist and songwriter, how has that view changed, since from being 14 years old and hearing this stuff as like this whole, new language to work with, now maybe, with a number of records under your belt?
Yeah, I mean the guitar vocabulary is opened up, and I try to write bigger songs, if you will.
Do you still find inspiration from that? Or
totally, it's kind of like when I was like, I had an art teacher, and everyone's heard the term. It's like keep it simple, stupid. You know,
right.
And I think about that every time I'm kind of like going off some other path of being overly complicated with something that's really at the heart of it, a simple idea and a simple song. It's kind of like Ramones, Hank Williams, Bill Monroe. It's all just this little tiny thing, and don't overthink it.
Right.
And you can put a 12-piece orchestra on top of it if you want, but do you really need to?
Phil Spector might have done that.
Right. But the song might have required that, and I wasn't writing songs like that. And that's kind of a...
So there's still a barometer of like, keep it simple, to the point.
Yeah, and
get your message across.
Self-editing, and you can think about it like with those kind of like the Ramones or Bill Monroe and Hank Williams, stuff like that. Those are small combos. There weren't two guitar players and stuff like that, and a keyboard play. There wasn't a lot going on. It was very simple, but that's all you needed to do. And so I think about that stuff a lot, of like just toning things down, getting to the heart of what you're really trying to do, instead of what is possible with 70 tracks. And we live in a town filled with musicians. Like, let's have them all come over. Like, no, let's really just try to get a good song first.
Right. But that's also a very Nashville mentality too, of the song being like the foundation.
And I think that's what even going back to listening to those first couple Ramones records again, it's like there's just a lot of just great songs on there.
Yeah.
You know, and it just happened to be with distorted guitars and big, just drums
Right.
and all that stuff and attitude. But you could play a lot of those things on an acoustic guitar.
Well, around the time I met you, you were just putting out your first Derek Hoke record, Goodbye Rock and Roll. And I remember talking to you at the time about, how you'd grown up skateboarding and punk rock. And with that record, it sort of felt like you were like, okay, it's time to sort of set childhood things aside, maybe, or...
Well, I never thought about that music as being country music or anything. I just thought I've considered them all like little pop songs, but I know that this one needs a steel guitar on it. This song needs a fiddle on it. Mm-hmm. And that's where people like Chris Scruggs came over, and Luke Bulla, I think, played fiddle on it. But I never thought about it as country. Like, you have to label
it wasn't as literal as that title was maybe suggesting.
No, I mean, I'd had that song for a minute, the Goodbye Rock and Roll song, and then it just seemed like a good album title too. Mm-hmm. But I remember you had to, like, when you put it on iTunes and stuff, you have to label it what it is. And
like genre-wise?
Genre-wise,
Okay.
and I was reluctant to label it country. Like, I was like, I don't hear this, because I don't sing like a twangy drawl dude, and there's nothing like shit kicker about any of this stuff. I thought of it more like a Roy Orbison record or something more
with pop leanings.
Catchy little songs that just happen to have some of the instrumentation you'd find on a old country record. But once I stopped thinking about it and just let it be what it is, I got over it.
Yeah.
So, and call it whatever you want.
Yeah. So do you see the Ramones, like, is there room on a Derek Hoke record for a Ramones moment, maybe on a future record? Or?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I do the Tuesday thing, and
$2 Tuesdays at the 5 spot.
right? And me and the guys I play with, we always like have these ideas like, let's just come up here one day and just play like 5 Ramones songs, not tell anybody, just do it.
I remember when you used to do the Led Zeppelin and Shins.
Yeah, just some little
yeah.
throw in something, but I still want to do that.
That'd be great.
At some point.
Yeah.
And just let it happen and then never do it again. Just like, well, he just did a bunch of Ramones songs out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then he never did it again.
Well, I guess to sort of wrap it up, I'm curious, how do you see this record continuing to inspire you or sort of be a record you go back to as your musical journey continues?
Well, if I look at it kind of like a foundation for what I found to be like good music, or have it was efficient, it was melodic, it got right to the point, and it was memorable. And those are the things I'm a sucker for. I'm a sucker for like pop music and the like 3.5 minute song, and like get in, get out,
right?
And like the single,
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of keeping that coming, like where that's kind of the formula. And if you're gonna have an odd song or something, or a 6-minute tune on your record, it better be good. But yeah, that's it. Just kind of keeping it simple and self-editing myself when I can go kind of overboard with instrumentation or ideas. And it's kind of like, doesn't need all that. It's just this.
Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. I appreciate you so much for coming by and talking.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's great.